I am a global nationalist. I support nationalism in my country, India, and in all countries around the globe. Today, I want to talk about two videos made by the YouTuber Styxhexenhammer666. The first video was about ways in which you can challenge globalists, and the second was about white bills that Styx was giving out. I want to give my own view on what can be done to fight globalists and give a few white bills myself. So the first thing that Styx spoke about was about not giving Indian media houses that are globalists links directly to their articles or videos, and instead archiving them. Now, I want to say that as far as India goes, the media landscape is very diverse, and they aren't, but even the media houses that are have a left-wing bias, such as Indian Express, The Hindu, and online media such as the Quint and the Scroll, do not attack uh, Modi and BJP voters like the New York Times or the Washington Post attacked Trump or Trump voters in the US. It's not as extreme as this there, but they are globalists, for example, and they need to be countered. I'll talk about that, and I'll also talk about how we can uh, take action against companies when they violate our national interests so that they stay out of politics. And this goes for not just when it's your country being affected, but any country. If they're giving out false propaganda, you should counter them. And um, he also spoke about developing skills. I agree with that. Like I myself am trying to learn new languages, become better at my YouTube job and stuff like that. And he also, and yeah, so I'll talk about that here. So here's an example of how the corruption is there in Indian media. Here, the Mr. Raghav Bal, who is the owner of the Quint, he was accused of a money laundering case, and the government has tried to put a travel ban on him to prevent him from escaping the country. And so now I'm not saying he's guilty. He's of course innocent until guilty, but this is also similar to how in Pranoy Roy from NDTV was um, accused of not of committing some form of debt fraud of yeah he was accused of defrauding banks, and he also was apprehended by the government, but still his he was never convicted. The case never really went through, and I think that as nationalists who want our media houses to be lawful and ethical, I think we should pressurize the government to take action against these editors and journalists who've uh, committed fraud and other crimes. Then, and I do agree with Sticks that the when we know that someone is being corrupt, then I think that their media houses and their articles and newspapers should be archived when being linked. I will try to do that myself. Um, and then, but there's also you have to understand that there are media's newspapers and media channels that are pro nationalism, such as Swarajya. which is which is a pro BJP uh, newspaper, which uh, makes it a nationalist newspaper since the BJP itself is a nationalist party. At least it is a purportedly nationalist party. It's on that side, if not always um, acting in a nationalist way, but most of the time it does compared to other parties. And Swarajya also talks about um, nationalist issues and supports Hindu nationalism. And so, yeah, we can support media houses that support our cause, which is nationalism. Corporations sometimes act in an anti-national manner. Here we can see Hyundai, their Pakistan official handle, making a comment supporting Kashmiri separatism in India, which violates Indian sovereignty. And this caused a huge backlash in India and amongst Indian Twitter users and social media users in general, as they found that many of the multinational companies which were working in India and had subsidiaries and in Pakistan did post stuff that was pro Kashmir separatism and terrorism. So, um, and that caused almost the entire Indian nationalist social media ecosystem to go against them, to threaten to boycott them, and they all, uh, their Indian subsidiaries, all condemned what their Pakistan handles said and distanced themselves. So that shows how nationalists can uh, protect their countries and make companies stay out of interfering in their politics. So yeah, that's those are two ways in which I think we can fight globalists and support nationalism. Because more than conservatism, it's which I am a conservative, specifically a libertarian, but also a conservative. I think it's important to support nationalism itself, so that even leftists, when they take part in nationalist activities, when they promote policies that support the nation, strengthen national security and wealth and prosperity, I think we should support them. And so we should also this a global, make this a global issue where we support content creators from all over the world that support nationalists, that are nationalists in their uh, think in their content and what they say, what they write, if they write anything at all. And that will help create a global ecosystem that can counter what the globalists have, which is their ecosystem. We are much smaller than them. They start from the Davos to the World Economic Forum to various country, governments and corporations. But I think that if we can work together, we can counter them and kind of reclaim the narrative which has been lost. So yeah, I think those are ways in which we can fight globalists. As far as white pills go, I want to talk about how India has been successful in combating globalists. We've uh, promote got the Nationalist Party, the BJP, into power, the central government twice, and they rule most of the state governments. And uh, where when they have not been following the agenda that people wanted them to, the voters have pressured them, and they sometimes have accelerated implementing the policies that people want. And so that's the political way in the political white pill I have for other countries. You also can find nationalist parties in your countries and support them politically, get them into office, to which will they will probably, especially if they're right leaning, they'll implement policies that re- reduce economic restrictions, which allow economic growth to happen, which will allow people to get jobs and, yeah, and see a rise in their wealth and standard of living, which is one great way of uh, becoming independent yourself, which Styx talked about in his point of skill, building your skills. Then the other point is that the other white pill I have is about how in India the paradigm has shifted in favor of uh, national security, national strength, making sure that our uh, cultural values are more towards Hindu nationalism. For example, uh, the concept of Hindutva has now become mainstream. More people are subscribing to that, and those who did subscribe to it but were shy to say so are now coming out in the open and declaring their support. The RSS is now a mainstream organization when before Modi came to power, it was not at all mainstream and was ridiculed and defamed almost. Actually, not almost, it was defamed by the mainstream media, the Congress, and uh, generally the mainstream narrative that was there. Now, the RSS is seen as a very respectable organization, and also Hindu nationalist issues such as Article 370 being removed, uh, the Ram temple being built, have become have been implemented, and they've gained widespread national support. And even issues like uniform civil code, which were used to be thought of as very contentious and not very popular, are gaining in popularity. So we can see how the nation's culture is becoming stronger, that we're re-embracing our roots. And I think other countries should do this too, that, which is great. So that's, and yeah, in India, most of the social media, although there is censorship of uh, people on the right and who are nationalists, like Ratan Sharda, uh, member someone who often I've seen on TV, who is a right-wing ideologue. I think he works in the RSS. He has complained that on Cool, his number of followers are much higher than they are on Twitter. And even though he posts most of the same stuff on both sites, and he accuses Twitter of shadow banning him, then the Twitter handle Media Crooks, which was attacking the Indian biased globalist media, got uh, deleted by Twitter. So yeah, there has been censorship in India against conservatives and nationalists, but still, Indian nationalists have created a space online to and in sufficient numbers that the censorship cannot completely silence them. And I think now that if Elon Musk's deal with Twitter goes through and he really does remove the policies of censorship in Twitter, then uh, nationalists in other countries where the censorship is heavier can take that as an opportunity and grow on their influence and numbers on Twitter and other uh, censorship loving apps and sites. And if these sites don't change, then simply go on to alt tech. I am myself on I'm on Cool and Gab, and I'll be posting there more often. And yeah, those are some white bills I want to share. and I just hope you stay positive and follow Styx's message of being confident, uh, focused, and not getting bogged down by negativity and focusing too much on the bad news, and try to also focus on the good news. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I just want to finish this video by wishing good luck to nationalists all over the world. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see my previous video, click here. And if you want to see any of the sources I use for this video, click the links in the description below, including Styx's videos. Thank you for watching. Vande Mataram.